Hello there, people of the internet. This is a video based more around just entertainment, but hey, I do think that it will in fact be entertaining. Those of you that are new-ish to this channel, you haven't really been introduced to this, I'm sure. This is Old Sketchy. This is a Oviedo Mauser chambered in 7.62 set me technically, but I fire 7.62 NATO ammunition from it. The reason I call it Old Sketchy is because there's a lot of sketchy shit that goes on with this rifle. One of my favorite things to do with people with this rifle is I show them how much movement there is in the bolt, and it always throws them off. So that's always fun to see the reactions and the looks on their faces and whatnot. I also had this rifle blow up on me one of the times where I was shooting it. I was firing steel case ammunition and the steel case had ruptured and I got hot gas back in my face, and it was not a very fun experience. And that steel case was actually crammed into the chamber so tightly that I had to take it to an actual competent gunsmith, and he had to physically drill it out. It was quite the endeavor. But I have been thinking about what rifle I feel like bringing hunting this season. And I have a lot of really good picks. Anyone who knows this channel knows I got some really fantastic picks, but every rifle has pros and cons that I've been able to find. Like, for example, my Mauser series, the rifles are either really big and really heavy or short and very concussive. The Enfields that I have, I don't necessarily want to bring those out because they're in half decent condition, and I don't want to get them wet, I don't want to tear them up. With the exception of that Jungle Carbine lookalike, because it's just a Santa Fe carbine, it's not an actual number 5. So I wouldn't mind bringing that thing out hunting. My Carcano rifles, I have a nice sporterized Carcano, which would, you know, be excellent to use as a deer rifle here in Florida, because the deer don't get that too terribly big. But the issue with those is definitely the sights. There's a spider right there, let me get rid of that. The sights on the Carcano rifle are zeroed out for 400 yards or meters, although you can like put the notch of the sight, the front notch, all the way on the bottom, and it brings your zero out to like 200 yards. And seeing as we're going to be firing at about 50, I still don't trust that zero enough to make hits on target on the vitals of an animal. It would take practice to really learn where that rifle is going to hit, and that's going to cost ammunition that I simply don't have. I've got my 8mm Mauser, my Car 98, which has been sporterized, so I wouldn't mind taking that out. I've got a good number of shotguns that I really wouldn't mind bringing out either. I've got my Norinco, and I've got my 870, and one's a short barrel, one's a long barrel. Each of them I would not mind having out on the road. But as I sat there pondering to myself, I was thinking to myself, you know, it's Florida and it's the rainy seasons, and I don't necessarily want to get a lot of these guns rained on, and we're going through some dense woods. They're going to get scratched up, beat up, they're going to get, I don't want to mess up my military surplus guns that are in good condition. That's exactly why I'm not bringing my M1 Garand out into the field. You know, that is definitely staying. I actually have the M1 Garand set aside for my normal gun collection, just to absolutely make sure that it does not get scratched up, because it is in pristine condition. But as I was going through my collection, you know, looking at the condition of these rifles, like this one I wouldn't mind getting scratched up because it's already beat the hell. This one right here, I wouldn't mind having it out there, but, you know, just pros and cons of each rifle. And Old Sketchy here has the most pros and the least cons, meaning Old Sketchy is a 7.62 NATO rifle, which is ammunition that I can very well get. It's powerful enough to take down pretty much anything here in North America that I'm going to encounter. 5-round magazine that I can load very quickly from a stripper clip, which luckily I have a good number of them that work. Thank you, 8mm Mauser, man, I do appreciate that. The stock has been sporterized, so that knocks out a lot of value. And it's an Oviedo Mauser, which knocks out a lot more value. Actually, back, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I picked this up for 25 bucks. Oviedo Mauser for 25 bucks. I can't remember what the situation was behind it. But yeah, I picked up this little 7.62 NATO rifle for 25 bucks. Now, Old Sketchy is, of course, she is sketchy. The rifle sight, the leaf sight, missing its spring. The amount I'd spend on the spring is more than I would spend on the entire rifle. The front barrel band kept coming off because the wooden chamber area that housed the spring, supposed to keep tension on this, is burnt, rotted, destroyed. It's messed up. So I just kind of put a wood screw in this destroyed sporterized stock right here, and that's going to hold the band on it. I grabbed one of my many AK-47 bayonet, or not bayonets, slings, and I threw it onto Old Sketchy. So that's not an expense. That's just one of the things I had laying around. The biggest thing with Old Sketchy was the mechanical features. Old Sketchy had a broken extractor from that ruptured case. I had to like force the bolt open, and I broke the extractor in the process. So I grabbed one of my many Mauser extractors, and I kind of fabricated it and ground it down in order to fit in working Old Sketchy. I guarantee that I definitely compromised the integrity of this extractor in order to get it to work, but it does work, and it works well enough, and it holds up well enough to using Old Sketchy. The biggest thing with Old Sketchy that I had to fix for hunting season is I had to get the safety up and going. Old Sketchy has a safety that is sketchy. I was not willing to deal with that, so I went ahead, I went in there, did some cleaning, did a little bit of filing, I got my little wire brush, did what I needed to do in order to get our safety working properly. So now, with the safety engaged, I don't have to worry. I am actually very confident in this safety now. With everything I've done to this rifle, the extractor is definitely a weak point, but it's not weak enough because there's still plenty of material there in order for me to rely on it to extract the cartridges without breaking. The biggest weak point by far is going to be my sights, because if I just bump those one way or another, there's no spring pulling them down. I am probably going to get me a spring for it, but that's going to be down the road. These rifles zero in at 200 yards, but they hit right on target, even at the 50 yards that we're at. So I feel confident in taking shots with this thing. Another con, because I said every rifle has pros and cons, another con is the ammunition. 7.62 NATO ammunition is not made with soft point rounds, so I do have to load my own ammunition. People are always telling me to get into ammo reloading. I already am. I reload my own ammunition very frequently. The only issue that I have is, especially with the prices of primers and whatnot that we're seeing nowadays, the amount of money I'd spend reloading my stuff is about the same it would take to buy new stuff. So I have 7.62 NATO tracer rounds here. I have some 150 grain full metal jackets that I'm going to be replacing inside of these rounds. I try to get 150 grain soft points. Did I say full metal jackets or soft points? I have 150 grain soft points that I'm going to be replacing these bullets with. Well, not these. I'm going to fire these through Old Sketchy because I'm on the gun range. I try to get 150 grain soft points simply for logistical purposes. This way I don't have to adjust them too terribly much, and my rifle still hits at point of aim for full metal jackets or their soft points, or at least really, really closely. If I were to fire something a little bit heavier, then I would have to readjust my point of aim. Now, I really do like that I can load Old Sketchy from stripper clips, and thanks to 8mm Mauser Man, I have a couple of these, which I will be bringing with me. I'm not really concerned about stripper clips for the hunting purposes, but where I'm going to be going, there's a lot of really large boars out there, like 300-pound plus boars out there, and they travel in packs. So if I need more rounds, I'd like to know that I can very easily and readily load them from a stripper clip, as opposed to having to single load them like into a magazine or something. Now, this extractor still doesn't quite fit in properly into the chamber. It's kind of tight, kind of gritty, but it adds to the aesthetic of why Old Sketchy is in fact Old Sketchy. So I'm going to send around downrange. We're going to hit our steel. Just like that, the steel has fallen over. Now let's see, make sure the extractor's still working here. Yep, extractor and ejector still working. Take a look at our cartridge, no rupturing, no bulging of any kind. That's fantastic. Okay. I'm gonna go set the steel back up and try and find something to keep it in place so I can fire these other 4 rounds. Go ahead and close this Mauser. Yeah, with the extractor, I catch right on the receiver in the upper corner of the extractor, but I don't want to grind off any more of it. So I just got to kind of put a little bit of downward pressure in order to get it to properly seat. So now that I know that the safety is working properly on this thing, I can just turn that on, push my sight down, because I'm probably going to have to do that after every shot. Beats the hell out of a muzzle loader though. And I got our steel standing back up. I heard Kevin scream. Where's Kevin at? Make sure he's not in my firing line here. Well, I don't see Kevin. Now the main pro with Old Sketchy, and the main reason why I decided to pick it, is because I really don't care about what happens to Old Sketchy. There's a big crack in the stock. I went ahead and I just kind of fixed that with a bit of wood glue. I fired, I don't know, 2,000 plus rounds through this rifle. It was just a cheap little shooter that I fired a lot, very, very often. And the crack never got any worse, so I never really played with it. But since I'm going to be bringing it out into the field, I went ahead, just lathered on some wood glue, reinforced it a little bit, try to make sure that it doesn't get any worse. But I have no problems with Old Sketchy getting wet. I have no problems with scratching her up. I have no problems with banging her around, smacking her on trees. I got no problems with Old Sketchy getting new scratches. I got no problems. I mean, the metal's been blued. I don't really have to worry about any real significant rust. Old Sketchy is perfect for taking out, especially now that I got the safety working. All right, now, I piled up some crap. Hopefully, the steel target stands up for at least a couple of rounds. I really should find a way to legitimately fasten that, but the car is just so destroyed. I don't want to cut myself on it. Now, how did I manage to miss that round? Is my sight pressed down? Yep, sight's pressed down. I must have pulled it one way or another. Oh well, it happened. Firing. There we go, I hit it that time. Oh wait, I can see where I hit it the other time too. Okay, so I did hit it, it just stayed in place. Okay, extractor's still holding up really well. Unlike that target down there. That time I did miss. I can't really see it all that well. Well, I hit it that time though, but it is definitely dipping down. Extractor, still working though. I do have a new pair of glasses coming, so I'll be able to actually see my targets a little bit better, but I still wanted to come out and fire Old Sketchy. I'll have my glasses by the time I go hunting though. Whenever I went to the eye doctor, they said legally with these I'm not even supposed to be driving at night, which is something I don't do, definitely not. Alright, well, the barrel band didn't walk, that's a good sign. The extractor's still holding up, she's still extracting. Everything's still nice and smooth on it. Sights are where they need to be, safety's still working. Okay, I think Old Sketchy is going to make a really good rifle. I just carefully laid her against the tree. Go hang out over there, Old Sketchy. I think that this hunting season is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to black powder season too. I got a Traditions Hawkins rifle that I'm going to be breaking out. Speaking of, I gotta make a video on that too. Anyway, this right here was just a little, mostly fun video. Me talking about the things I did to Old Sketchy to get her up and going and ready and proper and primed for catching me some dinner. So, thanks for watching, folks. Subscribe to the channel for more. I do this stuff all the time. If you like the video, like the video. In the description, you're going to find a boatload of links. That being said, I'm going to say, hey, thanks for watching. Looks like our sun is starting to set. I'm probably going to go load some ammo, like load some rounds and actually fire the soft point rounds through Old Sketchy. Just make sure that she can handle it properly, although they are pretty damn close. I think that these tracers are 145, but I know I fired 150 grain M80 stuff through her without any issues. It's the steel case stuff that she has problems with, but that's all 7.62 NATO rifles for the most part. There's always at least a little bit of bulging in the primer, and that steel case ammo doesn't have very good quality control, so you do get some ruptured cases every now and then. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Thanks for watching, folks. You guys go off. Have a fantastic day. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.